It's sharing.
So today we are going to be building inclusion. So we want to make sure that we give you lots of tips on how to modify curriculum today, building collaboration with your team, looking at the rich peer supports that your children can tap into. And by the end, we're hoping that you can say,
"That was easy."
That was easy. We can build inclusion, right? And we have the perfect person that's going to help us with our construction of inclusion today. And it's Lisa Orvis. And you probably know Lisa from the Facebook page, Educational Strategies. I always had to remember for children with Down syndrome. Sorry, I messed that up. But Lisa's going to be here with us, and she's going to be sharing wonderful examples of modified curriculum that she's used with her daughter, Chloe. She'll also be showing us ideas and things that she's used as a professional in the school. And Chloe and Chloe's dad, Bob, is also going to be joining us today. So we are looking forward. And Chloe, was it your birthday yesterday?
Was it your birthday yesterday?
Me, 18.
Now you're 18? Yikes. Look at you. I love your birthday crown.
What do you say?
Thanks.
So Lisa, welcome. I'm so glad that we got to connect again. Lisa, you might also know from Paula Kluth's book, All In, 18 Different Ways to Have Inclusive Virtual Classrooms. And so I am excited because we get to hear your tips and insights, Lisa. And we'll also be hearing from Chloe and Bob. And we do have a surprise guest. We also will be sharing with you later in our program. So welcome if you're watching live. I'm Charmaine Thaner. I'm a parent, a retired teacher, and an advocate. And we are ready to get this construction and building of inclusion going. Lisa, you have
Hi,
your
everybody. Thanks so much, Charmaine. So we're going to talk about building successful inclusion today. And something that's really important, if you want to lift yourself up, lift someone else up. And that's really what special education is all about. How can we lift people up and show their best skills, their best outcomes to the world?
Indeed.
So I'd like to give you a little bit of background. When Chloe was in second grade, this is a picture of Chloe when she was in about second grade, she had an amazing teacher who often placed her as a leader in the classroom. And some of the things that she did, for example, include having us email photos of things that we did over the weekend. This was way before we had social media and all the connectivity things that we have today. So she took those pictures and put them on her smartboard and showed them in front of the class. And then Chloe would go up in front of the class and tell a few words about the picture, what she was doing. Maybe she was on a bike with her dad and things like that. And then the classmates would ask her a few questions, and then she had an opportunity to answer. So it was a great way to place her as a leader in front of peers and build peer supports. And then when Chloe got to third grade, we had a new team and a few hurdles, and not everybody on the team had all the same tools. So that really gave us an opportunity to research more on inclusion and talk about what inclusion could look like and help everybody Thank you. Everybody grow. So we really spent the last 10 years or so, 10, 11 years researching inclusion and connecting with experts. Fortunately, we've had the opportunity to connect with people like Charmaine and Paula Cluth, and that's been great. And we've also started a group called Educational Strategies for Children with Down Syndrome on Facebook. And this group is really about collaborating with parents, educators, and caregivers, anybody who works with somebody with Down syndrome. But it's not limited to just people with Down syndrome. There's, if you have somebody else with a different disability, we're happy to have you join as well and collaborate with us.
It's missing.
What's missing?
My tab.
Oh my goodness. Well, guess what? We get to use my laptop. Is that all right? All right. So my background includes work as a technical writer. So that means I used to develop online help systems and write instruction manuals. And we also did a little bit of usability design. And the cool thing about that is it translates really well into special education. So all those instructions, writing and manual writing helped me hone those skills to develop visual supports and modified curriculum for Chloe along the way, and as well as the students that I work with. So I currently work as a paraprofessional, and I've done that for about 10 years or so. All right. So one of the things that Paula Cluth often talks about is placing students with disabilities as leaders within the classroom. And that's one of my favorite things to do.
Pick me up.
So I'll give you a few examples. And one of those is I supported a young man in third grade during math class, and the students were learning how to subtract. And that was way over his head. But what we did do was have him read the math equation on the board, and that was something he was learning how to do. So all the kids looked at him on how to read the equation, and that kind of helped everybody keep focused, and he felt confident because he was doing something in front of the peers. Another example is a third grade woman last year, young lady who had autism. She was a great speller. She liked to read and learn so much stuff. So we made what, sweetheart? Thank you so much. You like it? You like it? So we really worked hard to make sure that she was included in the spelling bee, and we gave her words that she could spell, but we also had her do it in front of her peers. Whereas not everybody with an IEP was included in the spelling bee. So we were really trying to make sure that she was included, and any of the other students that we worked with were included in the spelling bee. And her peers in the classroom just cheered when she was able to spell the words right along with everybody else. And then here's an example of guitar class. Chloe takes guitar class. And this is her third semester taking guitar, right?
Lessons.
Yeah, guitar lessons. You like guitar, right? And one of the things that her teacher did the very first day of this semester was have Chloe play a song in front of her peers. And they all looked at her as a leader in guitar class. So that was really cool. And last year, Chloe took a class called anatomy in high school.
Me?
Yeah, you learned about bones and organs in the body. And when we had conferences, one of the things we did was ask her anatomy teacher, wouldn't it be cool if there was a way for Chloe to ask or answer questions in front of peers? And this was before the pandemic started. And her teacher said, I know, we're dissecting whatever it was they were dissecting at the time. And he said, how about if we have her go around to the groups dissecting, and she could ask questions like, what is this organ? What is this organ? And it was great because Chloe had an opportunity to interact with peers. And then it also helped her peers answer the question and reinforce their learning. So that was kind of cool. So my suggestions here are look for a student's strengths, showcase those in front of peers, and see how you can collaborate to really place students as leaders in the classroom.
It's
Right?
cute.
You're cute too. All right.
Okay.
Building peer supports. This is where I need to get out my hammer, I think, because this is really important.
A toy.
It's a toy. It's also a tool.
Two.
It's a very important tool. So in the Facebook group, I hear so many parents say, you know, it would be really great if my student could have some peer supports or some friends to hang out with. And there's lots of opportunities to do this, but we don't always know like what makes the most sense. So how can we build those peer supports? Oh, I should mention too, first, it benefits all students. So we often hear stories of people with disabilities as adults and living independently, relying on those peer supports. Maybe it's in your job, and maybe it's in your life, in your apartment, or wherever you're living. For example, wouldn't it be great if we just make sure that everybody's included now, because later on it'll be such a normal thing that everybody knows how to support everybody else who needs it. So that's why it benefits everybody. So some really good places for building peer supports. PE class is a great place to build peer supports. Recess, how can you build those supports in and initiate games, or find whatever your student is interested in and see if you can get some peers to coach them in playing football or basketball or whatever everybody else is doing, whatever the interest is. Work on that. And we have a picture here of one example of a third grade math station. Peers were working in small groups to play a multiplication game. Well, the young man I was supporting was learning his addition at the time. So they could still all play the game, but the third grade students who were working on multiplication could do it for multiplication, and then they would ask the other student his addition, what was 10 plus 6, and he might have to find some manipulatives to put 10 plus 6 together, but then he could do it and write it down on a piece of paper. So they're all working together, doing the same numbers, but multiplication for one group and addition or subtraction, whatever it was, for the others. Let's see. We also have reading. Reading is a great place to build peer supports. Thank you. And one of the things you like to do, did you read to peers at school? Do you like to read to your friends?
Hi,
sweetheart. Thank you so much.
Yes, she is pretty.
So Chloe liked to do some reading to peers, and sometimes her peers would read to her. And that's something that I like to do with the students I support as well. So Chloe also has a Spanish tutor at school. And Bob, do you want to talk a little bit about her Spanish tutor?
Yeah, she has a few of them. She has Para, who works with her. The teacher works with her, and there's also a young woman who turns 18 next week. So she's actually younger than Chloe, but she spends time with Chloe, about 45-minute sessions once a week. And what's nice is that the peers are fairly demanding, much more so than parents are, as we know from our eldest daughter. And so she's very sweet, but she has Chloe do the work. Chloe is thrilled to be working with somebody her age. It's just a little bit different, and she gets a lot done.
So that's the tape part of the construction here. So yay, peer support, yay for peer supports. Great way to push our kids to achieve more. Breakout rooms. Peers can go in breakout rooms together and ask and answer questions and work on things. Did you want to share an example of that too?
Well, what's nice about the breakout rooms in virtual education is really working for this. Say chemistry. We take chemistry, and I say we because I'm a parent peer. So there's the teachers, the para, and then there's me. And so we go into a breakout room and we modify what we're learning in chemistry. And it's at all different levels. There's 3 young people with Down syndrome. One of them can understand a lot more than the other 2.
Cute.
And so they go through and he can answer questions the others can't. And so you got 3 people are modified differently, all at the same time. The kids that don't understand love to watch the one who does understand, but they all understand enough. Nobody is ever left out completely, and it's really neat the way they do that. And then in the regular classroom, Chloe will sit with me very nicely, and once in a while we can answer a question. Once in a while I can even figure it out. And so Chloe knows this. And if I just bend over and I say, here's the answer, and then she'll immediately unmute herself and repeat the answer until the teacher acknowledges that Chloe came up with the answer. So in front of all the typical peers, Chloe is coming up with these answers, and she is so proud when he says, thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Chloe, for coming up with the answer. And she's so excited. That's enough for her to stay focused for 45 minutes of the periodic table. And that's not easy.
Really? Huh? That is amazing.
But it's not always just kids with disabilities going in the breakout rooms.
Okay,
sometimes it's the typical peers that go in and they talk about something too, right?
Yeah, they do. And what's nice about, everyone talks about generations. This generation of young people is just amazing. You hear that they're too sensitive, all this other stuff, which is, you'll never say you're too sensitive to me. But what they are is they treat people with disabilities so differently than my age group did. We were not nice. And down the line, these kids are nice. These kids want the kids with disabilities to succeed. They back them up. When they're in the room with Chloe, if Chloe's trying to come up with an answer, they will help her out. And they're really cheering for her. And she can feel that. Anybody with a child with disabilities knows that our kids can feel a lot more than people realize. And so when these kids are supporting them, they really feel that. And again, you get a couple of those supports and she'll talk about the atomic weight of beryllium as if she knows it.
Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. All right. So collaboration. Let's see. So collaboration is a really good tool to use when somebody throws a wrench in things.
I tell you.
It's a tool.
We have a fantastic case manager who always gives Chloe a lot of voice and choice.
Thank you, ma'am.
So she is a great collaborator, and we appreciate her help all the time.
Thank you, P.
She likes you too.
We have, I'll give an example of English class on what they do for collaboration. So they were doing a unit on graphic novels, and the English teacher and the special ed teacher for English worked together to send us a list of graphic novel options that Chloe could choose from. And together we came up with pumpkin heads.
Cue me up.
And fortunately, we also had a library app that had the book available. So we had the paper version from school that we could read from, and then we went online and we used that to get some screen grabs and then print out some pictures to go along with the vocabulary words for this book. And it was really helpful. It made a difference to have those visuals that were specific to this actual book. And this unit that they're working on now is called a memoir. So they chose, hi, sweetheart. They chose another graphic. Thank you. They chose another graphic novel to use for that. And the special ed teacher for this class already gave us the vocabulary with the visuals that I'm assuming she got off of the library app as well, so that those visuals would be even more solid starting right off of the bat for this unit. So that was a great collaboration from our team here. Anatomy, like the story I was mentioning earlier, was great because when we asked if Chloe could ask and answer questions with her peers in some fashion, they were right off the bat said, here's how we can do it. And
Why?
It was just, nobody said no. They just said, here's our idea. And then if you have anything to add on to it, let us know.
Why?
And we'll make it work. And the other thing that's really helpful, your paraprofessionals really have the info on, they know what the classroom is doing, they know what the students' strengths are, and they might know the family a little bit. So a paraprofessional can really take all the information together and help come up with something great. So make sure you take advantage of all the team members that you have. All right, here are just a few examples of modifications that I've made in the past. And I think Paula Kluth likes to refer to this as dollar store differentiation. We have some sponges from the dollar store, and those worked great for a unit on fractions, and this would be like 3rd grade. We have a pair of dice for addition, subtraction, and that was another dollar store item. And then we also have milk caps, because if you lose one or two, you can get a few more. And then those are the container, maybe a big yogurt container, or this one happens to be like those crunchy onion ring things that you put on top of the green bean casserole. It's a nice sturdy cover. And kids just like to put things in and be fidgeting around, moving, manipulating things while they're learning. So this was always fun. We did for younger kids counting. You could do counting by 5s if you're learning skip counting, maybe in a different grade, or you could do your alphabet letters, find them in order and put them in one at a time. So it's kind of cool to have that hands-on. A couple of other ideas for modifying curriculum. Make sure things are hands-on, keep a variety of items, fill in the blank, depending on what level the student's at, draw lines, draw circles, and lamination and Velcro. Those are really awesome tools too.
And now you have to add those adhesive magnets.
Oh, right. That was great too. Yes, somebody was talking in the group this week about using magnets on the back of some foam shapes to set up arrays for multiplication, and that was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So during a pandemic, here are a few things that we've been using. For chemistry class, Chloe's teacher had a Jamboard set up, and it had the electrons and protons. So we just printed that out, and we made 2 copies, laminated it, and instant Velcro fidget.
Cute.
So it's a lower tech way to reinforce the materials. And then the team also makes slides of the Spanish vocabulary, and then we print it out and make large print text for the words, and then we have the hard copy and we study it that way, don't we?
Thank you, P.
I like you too. And then feedback is always important. So if you need something from your team, ask them if there's another way to do it. Say, my student really needs this, and how can we collaborate on that? So these are a couple of things that worked for us during the pandemic. And these are a few more things from a few years back. Biology class, we had another laminated coloring page we found on a science website, and it was free to print out. So that was kind of cool. And then the 2 on the right are things that I made for students in science, I think 4th grade science and social studies. So we had some text to read. We modified the text. It was the same material, but just at an easier level.
Thank you.
And we also included videos. And then when they did a quiz or learned the material or tested on the material, we had them circle the answers. So that was kind of cool and right at their level. All right. Oh, and this is kind of cool too. So one of the things Chloe really likes is doing quizzes on a tool called Quizzes. So it's basically an online, like, it's almost like a video game where you can choose, and we make it fairly easy with 2 answers. This is not one that I made or that Chloe uses, but an example. And then you just touch the right answer, and it makes cool sounds. So it's really like playing a video game, and the students really enjoy this one a lot. So that one's called Quizzes.
What do we hint, ma'am? What do we hint?
Oh, here we go. Social. So one thing that's really cool about building a strong inclusion network is our friends, right? So Chloe's school does a fantastic job with their Theater Pals program. It's basically, before the pandemic, they had it in person with students. So every student with an IEP also had a peer buddy, and they did theater games, and they put on a play, and they had a peer buddy that would help them out with their lines, and they worked together, and that was really, really cool. So this is a picture of Chloe, and she's holding hands. She was the fairy dog mother in her play. And then during the pandemic, they've been doing it virtually. So they ask all the students a question, and then they take turns answering the question. Oh, but before that, they do some like warm-up exercises and things like that. They do some voice things. And then why don't you share a little bit about that?
Today, we had to do a scene based on a wizard, a volcano, and a gumdrop. So we broke into a couple smaller rooms, and then a couple typical peers, a couple kids with Down syndrome, teacher, and they come up with, this is what the scene is going to be. Again, there's one, Jack Henry, who's in the plays, and he'll come up, he'll improvise his own dialogue, he'll know exactly what he's doing. Chloe, on the other hand, was going to be a superhero, and then once the scene started, she was now a sheep. And that's Chloe. She's going to do what she wants to do. And some of the other kids are like that too, as well. But the scenes are fun. Zoom scenes are kind of difficult to do for professionals. But the kids have a lot of fun. And again, they go at it whatever pace they go at, and everybody loves it.
Yeah, they're really, this Theater Pal program at Chloe's school is, in my opinion, is the model of what everybody should make it look like, because it's super inclusive with many typical peers, and they're so supportive and so helpful, and everybody really enjoys their time together. And many of the people in Theater Pals are also in Best Buddies. And in the middle picture is showing Chloe FaceTiming with her best buddy from last year, who is now a college student. So they keep in touch, and that's a really cool thing for these two. Bye. And I think the other picture with the crown is one of the pictures from virtual learning with Theater Pals. So any sort of social groups. Oh, Chloe's case manager is really great at setting up social groups. So if there's a day off of school, the kids might might set up a social group Zoom, so that it might be facilitated by a teacher or a para, and they'll ask some questions, and everybody will just hang out and chat. So it's a really nice way to connect with everybody. Yeah,
Okay.
All right, let's see what else. So there's pictures of you, Chloe. So Chloe is included for I would say at least 90% of her academics. Some of her hobbies include going to Gigi's Playhouse and yoga. There's a picture of you doing some yoga, relaxing. Me? Yep. And she likes to, what are you doing right here?
Walking over to me.
Yeah, walking the neighborhood. One thing Chloe likes to do is go for walks. And what do you do when you go for a walk?
A neighborhood.
You walk in the neighborhood. What do you listen to?
Musical.
You listen to music. Right. So we have a wireless speaker, and she chooses songs, or sometimes we have So it might be 80s music,
Cute.
right? Or it might be dance music. And then we dance and we do our walking. And then here she's making some food and spending time with her best buddy. That was pre-pandemic. And I'll just mention a couple of things. Chloe has some moderate hearing loss. So she recently got a Baha, which is, it's like a hearing aid on a headband. And that's really helped her speech and really helped her listening skills. So that's pretty cool. And she also has cataracts. So we hooked up our laptop to a TV with an HDMI cord, and that helps you see and hear better.
Thanks, Penny.
That's pretty cool.
Thanks, Penny.
You're welcome.
All right. So here we go. Maybe you want to tell a little bit about guitar class. Guitar class is...
Do we want Chloe to introduce our next friend here?
That would be fantastic.
Thank you.
Hey, Chloe.
Chloe, who's that?
My Kevin.
It's Kevin.
Hey, good to see you. Long time no see.
We talk about inclusion with guitar. We wanted her to take a musical instrument. And guitar is fairly difficult. With a piano, you can see this note is higher than this note, which is higher than this note. A guitar is a little bit different. So the first thing we did is we got a half-size guitar. As you can see, this is a full-size guitar. The half-size is much smaller for her hands. But then we further adapted it. If you're looking at a guitar, you've got to move your hands to make certain chords. Like this is a G chord. She can't do that. Her hands are too small. She doesn't have the strength in her fingers, nor is she at this point able to comprehend how to make chords. So what we did with Kevin is he tuned it to what we call open G. What open G is if you put your fingers straight across the chord, the fret here, it forms a chord. And let go for a second, Chloe.
I can't.
You can't, I know. You can see this is a G chord.
My hair.
If you just do this, it's suddenly an A chord.
My hair.
Your hair?
Yeah.
You move your hair aside, and there's a C chord. This is not just for people like Chloe. The Rolling Stones play in open G all the time. So we adapted it that way. But now, again, we have to go further. There's no way Chloe can really use her left hand the way she needs to, nor do we ever want her to feel she's not doing something correctly. So we're not really worried about the left hand. We're more concerned with the right hand, playing the pick. And so when Kevin plays with her, he's playing along with her. His guitar is tuned to open G as well. He plays loudly enough that you can hear what the song is supposed to be, and then Chloe plays along with him. Is she playing the same chords? No, but there's no such thing as failure with her. And the same thing with her guitar teacher. Today she played a song with Kevin for the class again for her birthday. But what he loves about her is that she brings joy. Music is magical to her, and it's joy. For instance, coming up with days of the week can be difficult for her. Memorizing things can be difficult for her, but she can sing along to about 50 songs. And so once there's music attached, she can do amazing things. And she's never going to fail because there's no such thing as the right way and the wrong way of doing it. So, and that goes with Kevin. He's the one that he's formed a band with her called the Imposters. They perform as often as they can, not just a guitar class. For her digital video class, we're making a video of Shoot the Moon. No, not Shoot the Moon. Shut Up and Dance. So she's going to be in that. And they're going to play that. Yes, ma'am.
So Kevin is Chloe's awesome para. He's really the clock that holds us all together. So, you know what? I've said enough. Do you... Kevin can take over it right now. Do you want to play a song with Kevin?
Of course.
Of course, which is always the answer. And then
Chloe, should we do Waltz and Matilda?
I can wait.
All right, let's do it. This is an Australian folk tune that is one of the songs that I did not know before I met Chloe, and then Chloe introduced me to a lot of these songs. And I don't listen to too much pop music either, and so I've had a new appreciation for Katy Perry and Flo Rida and lots of artists that I just never would have dipped my toes into. But now I know all the words. So let's do some Waltz and Matilda, Chloe.
You ready?
Once a jolly swagman camped by a billabong in the shade of a coolabah tree, and he sang as he walked and waited till his billy boy come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he walked and waited till his billy boy come a waltzing Matilda with me. Take it away, Chloe.
Tiki and Mo, I tell us I say, it's away, take it, come on,
Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Up rode the squatter, mounted on his thoroughbred. Came the troopers. Who's that jolly jumbuck? You got in your tucker bag. Come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me. Who's jolly jumbuck? You got in your tucker bag. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Up jumped the swagman and sprang into the billabong. You'll never catch me alive, said he, and his ghost may be heard as you pass by that. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me. And his ghost may be heard as you pass by that billabong. You come a waltzing Matilda with me.
Yay!
All right.
Way to go, Chloe.
I love that, Chloe. Thank you, Kevin. So, Kevin, Lisa mentioned that you also work with Chloe as a paraeducator. So, what made you think of introducing guitar to Chloe?
Well, I think it was Chloe's idea, and she wanted to take guitar class, and I think some other teachers knew that I played guitar and that I got along with Chloe really well, and we loved talking about music. And so I just thought it was a natural fit, and we just had a blast for the couple months that we were able to do guitar class in person last year. And it was just so much fun to see her pick it up right away. And it came naturally that she knew how to hold the guitar and to strum along with songs. And there's so many songs that, I mean, even the guitar teacher uses like Perfect by Ed Sheeran as one of the songs that he teaches kids basically. And Chloe knew every single word to that one. She stood up in front of the class performing it. I mean, it was just such a natural thing.
Look at me.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I say, can't wait, say. I can't wait, say. Yeah, no, dynamite.
Dynamite?
Dynamite. Yeah.
Way to go.
As you can see, she comes out of her shell when there's a guitar in her hand.
Well, and I know Lisa had said before one time I heard her talking about, what is it, a half-size guitar that Chloe uses?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I hadn't ever heard of that. And so I think that's so wonderful, because that must be so much easier to wrap your arms around it, and
Yeah, absolutely. And the open tuning works really well too, so that even if she can just strum, it's still a chord. It doesn't sound dissonant or anything like that. And so there's lots of songs where I can think, okay, what's a song with G and maybe one other chord that's really simple that we can start with like that. And it turns out a lot of pop songs are 2 or 3 or 4 chords, really super simple and easy to play. So
So Chloe, can you pick which one you like best? Do you like singing or playing the guitar best?
I
think it's a combination, yeah. Dynamite.
And what you see from what Chloe, I mean, she's not going to give you the answer you're expecting. And that's one thing that's wonderful with Kevin and the other teachers at Nicolet, is that they go with what Chloe gives them. And so, we go in directions that nobody expects to go. You can ask Kevin some of the stuff that we're writing for her modern lit class. She'll say things and we go, okay. Nobody would think of that except for Chloe. But you go with it. And it's wonderful.
No.
And I think, like you were saying, Rob, earlier, with really coming out of for Shell and speaking more with music, and I think it's just music is one of those languages that we use to understand the world. It's a thing that it reaches across any barrier. You don't really there's
come on.
Hearing music or feeling vibrations, even it's a natural thing that we can all kind of experience and connect with. And like I like to say, it's a transactional thing. It involves like someone performing and someone listening, someone speaking and someone listening. And so there's a lot of good, I think, like therapeutic lessons to be learned through playing music. And so I think just beyond us having fun and playing our favorite songs every day, it's a genuinely I think meaningful experience for both of us.
Another thing with Chloe with music, when she first got leukemia, it was in her knees, and so at that time, our Dr. Norm was talking about how much walking she should do, how important it is for her to walk, and we were like, "Wow, good luck," and we found out that if she holds a speaker in her hand and listening to music, she will walk. If the music buffers, we stop. If it's 10 degrees out and I can't get the song to play, she sits down or in lieu of sitting down, stands there. And at 10 degrees is not really fun to stand still. But once the music starts, boom, she's up and out again. So, it's, again, music is magic.
Yeah, and isn't it so wonderful that our kids now have more opportunities, like you said, with the theater pals and with the music. And, I think back to when, I don't know, back in the 70s, I guess, when some kids were only, back then called mainstream, into like art music classes, but I don't think that they really expected the kids to do much. And so now it's so nice because it's like, no, this is a rich opportunity, and kids can perform and they can, make progress in their musical abilities, but also just the joy and the fun that brings to people,
Yeah, absolutely.
And one thing that's really, go ahead, Kevin.
Go ahead, Lisa. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say one thing that's really cool about Chloe's school and Kevin is they really take advantage of that universal design for learning. And when Chloe has a project, Kevin has so many creative ideas to brainstorm, and her English teachers and other teachers that we're working with. How can we incorporate the music into her final project? Because she can really show what she knows through music.
Right.
So Kevin, I hope you're taking like photographs of all these accommodations and ideas you have, because you could easily put those into a book and it would be fabulous. Because I don't think there's much out there about incorporating music into learning. So there's
I think I would love for more kids than just Chloe to be in that class. And I'm in a concert band class with another student right now, and he plays the bells, and it's really awesome to see him work. I've just had a lot of fun over the last year or so, doing more and more of this, working with kids with disabilities and in the arts, and it's just been such a blast. As someone who's a fan of the arts myself, knows how important it can be for your self-confidence and like your self-advocacy. Like I think, I don't know if I would be ready. Like when I was in high school, I don't think I could get up in front of a class and play guitar for my whole guitar class. I think where I was in high school, I'd have been too scared. But Chloe was like, you didn't even have to ask. All right, Chloe, do you want to play a song for all right, yep, let's go. All right, Mr. G, come on. So I think it's really a great, especially, over Zoom where it's harder to get in and participate and stuff like that. What are you doing, Chloe? Is that Akitaki Yunga?
Yeah.
She has her own cues
another
for
song.
Kevin.
We have all sorts of symbols and gestures.
For Chloe's birthday, Kevin did a Zoom with two of her friends that are no longer at Nicolet. They both have Down syndrome, but they're not at Nicolet. And one of the boy was playing drums along with her. And Anaya, and I think it's because of Chloe playing guitar, has picked up guitar as well. So
we had a full band in there.
Playhouse once where all the kids had instruments and were playing. And it was just wonderful because, again, they don't self-judge.
Mm-mm.
Right. And I think what you were talking about, Bob, as far as, making sure that people understand that there's a variety of ways that we can do things and there's not a wrong way. And to build that confidence in our kids is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was going to bring up, we have a couple comments here. Let's see. Angie, how are you? She says, my son keeps showing what he can do by watching, but the teacher refuses to teach him. He only gets what he absorbed on his own. Yeah, and that can be hard. And I think that's part of that, building that team and that collaboration. And, I think, Kevin, you must be an important linchpin at that school for a lot of kids.
Well, I think it sounds sort of obvious, but it's just, I like to get to know the kids. And like Bob was saying, on that non-judgmental level, is this the kind of stuff you like to listen to? I always start with music because I love listening to music and asking kids what they like to listen to, or movies too. I ask what movies, and just trying to make those connections there and think, all right, how can I turn this into engagement? How can I turn this into, like Chloe, obviously, it was the guitar, and how can I use this connection she has with music to have her write about it in English class, or have her, we're making a video about it in her digital video class that she's doing. So just finding those entry points, I think, is important as a teacher or a parent or whatever you do at school. Just like, and then not like get to know the kids, and not in a weird professional kind of way, but like genuinely, like they were just another human being that you want to get to know better. It's a simple. It sounds simple, but it's just like finding out those little things that you have in common.
This also brings us to another aspect of inclusion that sometimes people forget about. We love saying how important we are to kids who need us, but we sometimes forget out how important they are to us. I could never sing in front of anyone until I started singing in front of Chloe, because she doesn't judge. Other kids in her class are willing to stretch because they know if they're with Chloe, there is no judgment. And she's not afraid to go up there. And so they are in turn not afraid to go up there. And this non-judgment, being around people that don't judge you, allows you to stretch. So the typical kids gain a lot. The kids in her music class, when she sits up there and she strums, and she's not hitting the chords she's supposed to hit, and she's enjoying it, and she's showing what music is, which is pure joy. Which unfortunately, the woman that just sent you that note, the music teacher, the end for that music teacher was a piece of music that sounds correct to them. Whereas to Kevin, the end is joy. And if you look at joy, you can accomplish that. And then the other kids in the class can learn that as well.
Hey, Chloe, you really want to play another song, don't you?
Yeah.
Chloe, can I show one more comment, and then you and Kevin can play another song? So Jessica was saying music is the language of the heart. My 7-year-old with Down syndrome has loved it since birth, and it's helped with his overall development, especially with behaviors and communication.
Hey, me too.
Yeah,
me too. I mean, completely helping with communication and understanding emotions, how songs make you feel, slower songs or faster. I mean, it's just such a great entry point. And like when kids take free time, I'll walk around and I mean, I don't know, some kids are watching videos on YouTube, but it's 90% of kids are watching their favorite song on YouTube or listening to some music. That's like a go-to thing. And it's not just for kids in special ed. That's like any kid. Just like when they're at school, they have their ear pods in because they want to listen to music in between class.
Right. So Chloe, what song would you like to play next?
Look at me.
What song do you want to play next?
All right, so we did an Australian folk tune, and now we're going to do an Inuit folk tune. This is called Aki Taki Anga.
I get.
Yep. All right, Chloe, I'm pulling up our backing track just so I don't get off time here.
I'm pretty.
All right. Aki taki anga, aki taki anga, hey miss a day, miss a do, miss a day. Aki taki anga, aki taki anga, hey miss a day. Hexakala Mishawani, Hexakala Mishawani, Hexakala Mishawani, Aki taki. Aki taki anga, aki taki anga, hey miss a day, miss a day. Hexakala Mishawani, Hexakala Mishawani, Hexakala Mishawani. Aki taki anga, aki taki anga, hey miss a day, miss a day. Aki taki anga, aki taki anga, hey miss a day, miss a day. Hexakala Mishawani, Hexakala Mishawani, Hexakala Mishawani. Aki taki anga, aki taki anga, hey miss a day, miss a day. Aki taki anga, aki taki anga, hey miss a day, miss a day.
Chloe, I love it.
Way to go. That one, I mean, when Chloe, let me tell a story about that one really quick. I don't want to take too much time, but when Chloe was requesting we learn that song, you can't imagine how hard it was to find that I mean, if she's requesting any pop song, I could say, okay, did you say Firework, Katy Perry? I know, but you're saying Aki Taki Yunga. These are words I've never heard before. How am I supposed to find that online? And so I did though eventually.
It's keeping you on your toes, Kevin.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. Well, so thanks so much for having me. I mean, I just want to say really quick.
We're able to join you. And so I wanted to ask, now that it's virtual, so is it like the Zoom music class and you guys go in breakout rooms or what?
Yeah, the music teacher, and he does this for the band class that I'm in and guitar class. He has like a great setup. And I know that a lot of teachers all over schools, all over the state, all over the country are struggling with some kids in person and some kids virtually. And he's got like a big projector screen that's out in the theater. They have all the kids on the stage in the theater. He has a camera that's up in the light rig so that it's looking down for band class so you can see all the kids on the stage. He has one camera that's on his fingers and one camera that's on his whole body. Like he has everything really set up so everyone at home can see everything perfectly, and there's still kids in person there too. And wow. So yeah, we'll play some songs or we'll do some instruction with the class. And today we were learning a blues riff, which is an A and a D and an E. And there's lots of songs that Chloe and I could find that have the same pattern. So we learned some blues riff at the class, and then we get put into a breakout room, and then we just go wild. Chloe and I just play every single song we know in the time allotted.
Well, how fun. So Bob and Lisa, what are some of the things that you've noticed about Chloe with, this, wonderful relationship with music and Kevin kind of spurring her on?
Well, one thing, her confidence is gone through the roof. She's a very shy girl. With her health situation and stuff, it just, she took a hit. And so her getting up in front of the class is not something that we ever thought she would do. I mean, Lisa and I will watch her with Kevin, and there's tears in her eyes because this is something we never thought we would see. You go to Down syndrome conventions, and they're wonderful, but there's always the horrible moments when the parents go up on stage and say, well, my little Johnny is not high functioning, but he started speaking French in 4th grade. And, but I read to him every night as if the parents are making this child really, gifted. And it's reality. So many parents are leaving those conventions saying, what am I doing wrong? Yeah. And that was us, because Chloe could not do what a lot of these kids could do. And then suddenly music came, and she's doing things that we never thought she could do. She'll listen to a song twice and she'll anticipate the chorus. Wow. And that's a thinking that's pretty sophisticated thinking. And so we're seeing possibilities we never thought we'd see before.
How wonderful. How wonderful. And Chloe, you are so lucky to have people like Kevin in your life.
What do you mean?
The feeling is mutual.
And I'm going to just say one more thing. I think really we're just so fortunate to have such a collaborative team. We didn't always have an inclusive environment for Chloe. And I think one huge contributing factor to Chloe's success is that she is included and her team is extremely collaborative. And they're happy to take feedback, and they take it, how can we make this even better? So it's truly, we truly feel it's a collaboration.
Oh, I bet. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I don't know why, but I rarely ask fathers to come on. And so I so appreciate your perspective.
Well, Lisa does the heavy lifting and I do the playing.
Again.
But you also play guitar with Chloe a lot at home, Bob?
I do, and we have a completely different playlist than Kevin. We have a very strict playlist. It includes songs that are not age appropriate, but it's fun. We do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. When it comes to Like a Diamond in the Sky, she won't do that. It's like a diamond in a duck. And then I have to yell at her, or it's a diamond in a chicken. And I'm like, that's wrong. It's a diamond in a penguin. And it's like, oh. And then we do our songs. And then the last song is a song I wrote for her that she's learning. And she likes it being about her. So we have our playlist, and then Kevin has their playlist. Their playlist is much longer. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Look at me.
We see you.
I know. I love it.
Here we go. Twinkle Twinkle. I wonder where the diamond is going to be.
Are you singing the song right? Are you making
Yeah,
up
that was right. That was all right.
It was all good. Good for you. Good for you. How come when you're with me, you have a penguin? And then you have a duck?
Honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Chloe, you have
give me a
some
hard
more
time.
things from your audience. So she said, good job, Chloe, Bob, and Lisa. Chloe is clearly thriving. And then Jackie said, thanks for the concert and wonderful ideas. I love the strategy of asking peers questions. Miss you guys. So you have a lot of fans out here, Chloe, that we're glad that you were performing for us.
That's pretty cool.
I came me.
You know, we're
The
not kidding.
imposters.
The Imposters. That's their band.
Bang.
Oh, good, good.
Mhm.
Well, thank you all. And Lisa, do you want to pop your face back in by Chloe there?
Yep. And just remember, if anybody throws a wrench in your situation,
I totally.
there's always a way
I
to
totally.
collaborate
One night.
It's a tool.
and make it better.
One night. No,
And
one night.
you'll be saying,
That was easy.
that was easy, right?
There you go.
So you guys, until next week, I am Charmaine Thaner. I so appreciate the community that we have here and the persistent work that you do as a parent, as an educator, to help our kids belong, to help them be included and learn every day beside their friends. So thank you all, Lisa, Bob, Chloe, and Kevin, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Be
Thank you.
good, be good. In the sky.